So if y'all want to come on up, get drinks, food, we'll get that started.
I just was imagining, and I didn't know what I was supposed to imagine.
It's all I'm liking the big plates. We're gonna go one of these. Oh yeah, I forgot they come in. You just have one night class. Yeah. It was two. This is why they just have a 1080. Yeah, just cycle. Right, there you go. I think they got a little bit of everything. That's why we had P-dubs. Honestly, I'm probably just I remember Darrow
You're gonna be speaking like before he gets here. This is live.
Is it?
This is live.
Okay.
So walk into it if you want to.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. The stream's going.
Do they need to put it on when they talk, or can
Well,
we
since
just sit it here?
there's two of them, I said that they could just hold it with them.
Did you tell them?
Yes, I talked to them already. They weren't like, can we just even have a mic? And I'm like, well,
Do you think it'll pick up? Like if it's just sitting there?
I don't know because I don't have headphones. Because Jesse was supposed to bring some earbuds for me, and he's not here. Do you have earbuds on?
Let's try that. Like if we can move those chairs.
Are they staying back here?
Well, I don't know. Let's just try it because it's better than we had. Just go off the phone.
Okay.
And then if it doesn't work, then we'll do it. Because I think that's kind of more like having people.
Okay. So I go ahead and tell them that.
Okay.
So go ahead and tell them that.
Yeah, just say, leave it on the table and just stand around this general area. looking for? See if this works. Is that for BAP or APS? BAP? Okay, I think that goes to Nick once you're done writing it out. Yeah, blue shirt.
He still got the job. It was crazy. And he gets 3 weeks vacation. I mean, the first year.
Tori?
No, but I didn't know how much they did.
I would be like scared. I just like read the offer letter and I'm like, that's what it is. Yeah, it very well could be, yeah.
It's so good to see you and nice to officially
Got all
introduce you.
kinds of good stuff.
I'll definitely give that feedback to Mandy.
Alrighty. I think I can take. Hey, Nick. Nick, do you take contracts and checks or just checks? Both? Okay. No problem.
You were already planning on anyway.
Alrighty, guys. We'll get the ball rolling here. Welcome to this professional meeting. Jesse's not here. He'll be a little late. I think he had a meeting with a client. We have Rachel and Mallory from Harding today. I'm sure they'll give us a good presentation, and we'll jump right into it. So, upcoming dates, we have the special needs prom, February 8th, 5 to 8 p.m. Good opportunity to get some community service hours in. And then we have BAP contracts due February 14th. I believe APS is due on the same day. If you don't have an APS contract, they're up here. You can grab one as you walk out once the meeting's over. Then March 16th, we have the pork chop dinner from 5 to 7. I think me, Jake, and Nick worked it last year. It was pretty good, pretty fun. Get some community service hours in if you're needing it. And then the regional meeting in Cincinnati is the 28th through the 31st of March. And I think we do have a few additional spots for that. So if you are interested in going, let me or Jesse know so we can get you signed up as soon as possible. We have to start the travel process. Schedule, we have Harding Skymanski tonight. 2 Thursdays from now is to be announced. I think Jesse found somebody already for that, so I'll have to talk with him. And then we've got Matt Reffitt with United Companies on the 28th of February. Swan Financial Solutions the following meeting after that. Bryce Bullock with First Bank, and then we have Initiation with DOZ and Meet the Firms all on the same night, April 18th. So, and then last announcement, officers, if you could hang around after this meeting. I think Jesse had a few announcements he wanted to make about the trip. So I think that's it. So Mallory and Rachel, if you're ready.
Do you have a clicker or
Clicker.
no?
I don't think we do.
Okay, that's fine.
Sorry.
Not a big deal. Hi guys, I'm Rachel,
And I'm Mallory.
and like you said, we're from Harding Szymanski and Company, and we're going to talk to you today about public accounting, private accounting, and what you can do now to kind of prepare for your future. Okay, so I graduated from here, USI, in 2017 with a bachelor's in science. I also was a Beta Alpha Psi member and a member of accounting. My CPA exam after I complete the MBA, which I'm starting in the summer. So pretty exciting stuff, back to school. And then my professional experience, so I did a couple of internships while I was in school. I started the beginning of my junior year at Berry Global. I was an accounts payable intern. And then I got my first public internship with Harding as an audit intern. It was a 6-week internship, but I learned a lot, and it was really interesting. And then the fall of my senior year, I did an internship with United Leasing as an accounting and finance intern. I did reconciliations and little special projects that they had. And then I did a tax internship with Harding the spring of my senior year, right before I graduated, and then started full-time at Harding in September of 2017. And I am in the tax department.
Some background on me, I actually graduated from the University of Evansville in 2017. I was an accounting club member, and then I also got a Bachelor's of Science in Accounting, and I graduated with over 150 credit hours, so I actually started studying for the exam as soon as I graduated that summer, and I actually officially passed all 4 parts in December, so I am currently waiting for my license to be accepted.
Yay, Mallory.
Some professional experience. I started my junior year in the spring semester at Harding Skymanski as a tax intern. And then I was actually very fortunate to be asked to stay over the summer. I didn't do an audit internship like Rachel did. I kind of just did whatever tax stuff they threw my way. And then I actually stayed on in the fall and then did the busy season internship again my senior year. And then over the summer in between interning and starting full-time, I actually did an internship at Red Spot Paint. That was interesting. It was a lot of research, so not my favorite. And then I started full-time in September of 2017 with Rachel, and I'm also in the tax department. So some requirements on how to start preparing. So education, take accounting classes. Is it interesting to you? Take all that you can. USI obviously has a strong accounting program, and if you are interested in accounting, you have chosen the right place. And take core work and make sure that you mix in electives that are actually fun. Like we said, you have to have 150 credit hours for the CPA exam. Take some fun classes. Don't bore yourself too much. And enjoy college. It's your last time that you can have long breaks.
I mean, like, to emphasize that, like, you don't get a month anymore, you don't get spring break, you don't get summer break, and it's really, really sad. So enjoy it while you can. College is a time to learn and also have some fun too. So, like Mallory said with classes, switch it up every once in a while. I know USI has, like, a rock climbing class, a sailing class, like, different things like that. So you can make it fun while you're getting those extra 30 credit hours for the CPA exam.
So organizations, get active in accounting clubs, BAP, like you guys are sitting right now. And then internships, like we said, we both did multiple internships, and that actually really helped. Even if you don't do them, if you decide to do public accounting or private accounting, either experience will help. It's getting the basics of accounting, basically, that they look whenever they see your resume. You can get internships anywhere from your sophomore to senior year of college. I know that Harding starts sophomore year. We have scanning interns. It's not preparing taxes, but you get to see the types of things we do and how we do it. So it's getting your foot in the door, and that will really help be a differentiator on your resume whenever it is time to look at full-time jobs.
And just to add to that, I kind of was able to figure out if I wanted to go into public accounting or if I wanted to go into private by the internships that I did. So it's a good way to kind of get a feel of what you enjoy more. So that way when you are getting ready to graduate and you're looking for jobs, you kind of have an idea of where you want to go. So it's super helpful. And then also job shadowing is also super important. The first experience I ever had with Harding was a job shadow. Actually, I was in BAP, and Ashley Schultz, manager at our firm came and gave a presentation, and I reached out to her and set up a job shadow, and that's kind of how I got my foot in the door at Harding, and then it led to getting a full-time job. So not just internships, but job shadowing, going to things like Meet the Firms and like different accounting club events that you can go to where professionals from the community are there is a really great way to kind of put yourself out there and start meeting people as soon as you can.
Like Rachel said, it is a good way to see what you like with internships. I went into my first internship fully thinking, okay, this is going to show me what public accounting is. I'm probably going to hate it. I want to make sure before I choose a full-time job, which I clearly didn't because that's where I'm working now. And then the CPA exam. Almost all states, so Indiana does require CPA candidates to complete 150 credit hours of college coursework to actually apply for the exam. So that can be earned multiple different ways. I just took summer classes and loaded up a little bit my junior and senior year. There are people that double majored. I know a few people that decided to go 5 years, and like Rachel's doing, she's gonna go back and get her MBA. There's someone that actually just started that they went to IU for 4 years and then they did the master's program and now they've started full time. So there's a lot of different ways. There are certain core classes that you have to be able to sit for the exam, but all of those are done whenever you have an accounting degree. So it's nothing that like you have to look at and you're like, okay, well, do I have this class? If you have an accounting degree, it will complete all those classes. So like Rachel said, you can take fun classes. I took a bunch of keyboarding classes and like medical classes because in all honesty, I heard they were very easy. So I took them over the summer after I graduated and I just wanted to get it done. And I was like, well, medical terminology sounds easy.
And Mallory and I have given quite a few presentations to different schools, high school, colleges in the community, and one question that a lot of people ask us is, what is the best way to get your 150? And so there's not really like the best way. It's kind of just whatever, fits for you and whatever like you need to do to get it done. I wanted to start working full time, so I said I'll work and get my master's at the same time. Other people want to stay another year and get those extra hours. So really there's not a right or wrong way to do it, just whatever works best for you and is going to be most beneficial for you.
I do suggest if you're going to sit for the CPA exam to do it as soon as possible. It's very hard to get back into the groove of studying. Even whenever I took 2 exams in 2017, and then during busy season I obviously couldn't study because I didn't have time, and then I got done with busy season and I was like, I do not want to study. So just even getting out of that small break, it sometimes like dampens you're like I don't want to do that anymore. So I would say the earliest you can do it.
Definitely, for sure.
And then some public accounting versus private accounting. So education and certifications for public, like we said, the CPA license is required, but depending on where you work, it might not be required right away. At our firm, we have to have our CPA to make manager, so we could still be promoted as associate in like the staff level, but to be a manager and sign returns, you have to have the CPA behind your name. And then for private accounting, the accounting degree is required, but then your CPA license, and if you take any other exams or have any other credentials, it's valuable, but it's not required. And then some background for public, you'll be familiar with business systems and strong analytical skills, and you'll become kind of like an advisor for many clients. And then private accounting, you'll have the knowledge of business processes and industry standards, and you'll be the integral part of one business that you work for. So kind of like that, like ours, we see multiple different industries, like possibly every day. You could be working on a healthcare client, and then you turn around and you're working on oil and gas. But if you're in private accounting, say you're working at Berry, you're only seeing Berry's information. So it is kind of cool to have the different industries and you get to see different things. It also means you get to learn a lot of different things. You get to learn all the laws and regulations based off of which industry you're working in. The typical schedule for public accounting, you have the tax season hours, and lots of times there's flexibility, and then there's the possibility of travel, and like I said, working with a variety of clients. Like we say, we never have a dull day. You don't go into work and say, oh, I have to print this report every Monday, or I have to do this. There's possibility that you'll have projects that managers come in, or you can sit on in with a client meeting. But then private, it's more consistent. Like I said, you'll probably go in there and every Monday and Tuesday you have the exact same thing to do. And then you typically won't have very much travel, and you'll work with your primary corporation other than, like I said, other industries. And then ideal personality for public accounting, you want to be outgoing, adaptable, a great communicator, a self-starter, multitasker, organized, and strong technically. And then for private accounting, you want to be dependable and organized, and also a great communicator and strong technically. And then the long-term goals for public accounting would be a partner, or at our firm we call them vice presidents. And then in private accounting would be the CFO.
Nope, I don't have anything. Okay, so now I'm going to talk about really what we do on a day-to-day basis, which when we were putting this together is kind of hard to really come up with because, like Mallory said, we just do so many different things within a day. Today I've worked on, I think, 4 or 5 different tax returns and some other small projects, so it's never boring. You're always switching gears, which is super nice. I'm someone that does get bored easily, so seeing different things and, you know, switching from a construction client to a manufacturing client kind of keeps my interest because they're 2 completely different types of, you know, returns, and it's just nice to see something new instead of sitting and watching the same thing or doing the same thing every day. So at our firm, we have an audit department, a tax department, a consulting department, we have an outsourcing department. So tax and audit, I'm sure, you guys are accounting and finance majors, or CIS, correct? So you guys know audit, tax. Consulting, that is just meeting with, you know, business owners or, you know, people who are looking to possibly make some changes in their business model, or, you know, want to acquire another possibly. So we in those kinds of areas and give advice. And then our outsourcing department, I don't know of many other public firms that have an outsourcing department like we do, but basically our employees will go out to our clients and help them prepare quarterly financials, close their books at the end of the year, do their payroll, just stuff like that. So that's a Harding specific department. I don't know, like I said, of many other firms that have a department like that. So a typical work day, we kind of have already touched on this a little bit. It's kind of unpredictable. I go to work and I know that I'm going to be working on tax, but I don't know necessarily what tax returns I'm going to be doing, especially now since it's busy season. Mallory and I and our tax department staff as a whole, we have returns assigned to us ahead of time, but until those come in or we start working on those, we just kind of pick up what comes in whenever it comes in. So it's kind of, this is an interesting word for me to use describing tax season, but it's kind of fun because it's just something different and you don't really know what to expect. So right now we're working pretty long hours, 60, 65. When it gets closer to our deadlines, it'll be closer to 70-hour work weeks. But outside of busy season, during the summer, we work 36 hours. We get half-day Fridays, Memorial Day through Labor Day. And then the fall is also, for us, pretty relaxed. We are starting to gear up for busy season, but we don't have a whole lot of work. Our auditors, on the other hand, they are a little bit more consistently busy. A bulk of what their hours are worked during busy season, but in the summer, they have employee benefit audits that they are working on, and then in the fall, interim, and then busy season, they're doing year-end work. So they're a little bit more consistently busy than we are. But I would say for the most part, most of the hours are definitely worked during busy season. And then vacation time. So one big perk of public accounting is you get a good amount of vacation starting out. We both got 3 weeks our first year, which is not very common. My mom, for example, started a new job a couple of years ago, and I think she's been there 3 years, and she doesn't even have 3 weeks of vacation time. So just to kind of put things in perspective, on the private side, I'm not sure really what vacation is starting out, as I don't work in private. But that was a big perk for me, especially going from college. Like we said, enjoy the breaks. 3 weeks vacation is about as close as you're going to get to any, long-term break. So it's been really, really nice. And then private accounting. So I'm really sorry, guys. We don't really know a whole lot about private, so I don't want to seem like I'm just reading straight off the slides. But like I said, we don't know a whole lot. So typically what you would do in private, pay bills, reconcile accounts. I told you guys I did some of that at my United Leasing internship. Preparing financial statements, probably quarterly, monthly, and then at the end of the year, obviously. Preparing the annual budgets, that's probably, I would imagine, different department budgets, not just accounting budgets. Making sound financial decisions, doing employee benefit related items, meeting with different business owners, and managing your internal accounting department. So that would probably be accounts payable, accounts receivable. Obviously, different business models have their departments set up differently, so that could vary. So a little about Harding. So we are a public accounting firm. We have an office in downtown Evansville and an office in Louisville, Kentucky. We have over 100 employees between our 2 offices, and we have 15 vice presidents. In 2015, we celebrated being 40 years old, so I guess now we're 44 years old. Our service areas are tax audit, the advisory service, which is the consulting, the outsourcing service, and then we also have a medical billing and consulting company that's associated with Harding, so they're basically, they bill and collect for different medical providers throughout the community, so that's something different. You probably wouldn't see that in most public accounting firms. And then our industries that we work in, medical, medical healthcare, construction, real estate and minerals, Mallory said oil and gas, manufacturing, financial institutions, and I think that is it. Can you think of any other ones?
Do you say retail? I mean, I know we do some retail.
Yep. So we, as you can tell, have a very vast amount of clients in different industries that we work in. So you learn a whole lot, which is obviously very helpful and beneficial.
And earlier we were talking about that the industry specialties, you don't necessarily get to go in and say, I only want to work on construction clients, because you get what work is there. We have teams for all of these industries, so they have meetings. Do they have meetings every month?
Once a month, yeah.
Once a month, probably not during busy season, I don't think they do. And they go over all the new laws and regulations for that industry so that you can learn more about it. I'm on the construction team.
I'm on construction and our manufacturing team.
And then I believe whenever you make it to manager, you would be able to actually specify an industry. But at our level, you get to see basically all of it.
So Mallory and I did some digging to see. We were curious what the projected growth for accounts is, and it's actually above average. So I think the average was 7.4% for all the industries, and accounting is at a 10% growth from 2016 to 2026. So the world's always going to need accountants. People have talked about AI coming in, and I feel like that will probably affect other industries well before it would affect what we do. So it's a really great field to go into. You learn a lot, and I don't know if I'm saying this because I'm a little biased, but I feel like people kind of respect you more, like, you know, you work in a field that's very knowledgeable, and so you get kind of like respect for what you do, and I can't say that for all professions. So that's a really great thing.
You
It
will
just-
always have people asking you tax questions.
Yeah.
No matter if you were an auditor,
Yeah.
if you say that you're an accountant, they're going to start asking you tax questions.
Yes.
So be prepared for that.
For sure.
Just start charging all of your friends.
And just like accounting as a whole is growing, so is Harding. This past year, we hired 8 new hires. When Mallory and I started, there were 11 of us as new hires. And I would say like 80% of our firm are USI grads. So USI and UE obviously are essential to the growth of our firm. So we're very excited that we're in a room full of accounting and finance and CIS majors as well.
Hey, we need someone, don't we?
And then the starting pay can range from $40,000 to $55,000 depending on private or public. I think public, just based on what I've heard, tends to start out a little bit higher than private. But in the long run, I mean, it's still a really good place to start. $40,000 is still not, like, if that's the least that you make, it's not a bad bet at all.
So, your future, set goals and make them known. Make sure that you have a support system of friends and family, coworkers, professors, professionals. I will say that's a good thing whenever you're going through the CPA exam. I have heard, I think they said to have a support system with at least one person that knows what you're going through and one person that has no idea what you're going through, so they can be very optimistic for you. That was like my mom and my grandma. My grandma was like, "You're so smart, you got all A's in school." And I'm like, that doesn't matter. Be patient and be flexible. Life happens and you have to adapt, which that's a good one, especially with the CPA exam too. I mean, you never know what's going to happen. And just like in general, being flexible. And then never quit.
We actually, so today, our president, Trudy Stock, she, during busy season, tries to help us out as much as we can, like, mentally. So she started sending out weekly firm-wide emails, and really the point of them is to, like, just boost morale. And we have an end-of-tax season party for our firm, and so there's always a theme. And in the email, she starts hinting towards what it might be. And so she did send one out for Super Bowl, and it was, this is relevant, I promise. It was like a really big football player and then like a little small football player, and they were like, I don't know what you call it in football, like about, like lined up against each other, I guess. I don't know. And it said, the small football player was like, I can do this, and she was like, this is everyone's mindset, like, you can do this, you will get through it. So that kind of goes with, like, you will reach your goal. We always, get through a busy season and make it out alive, so it's not terrible. I don't know if any of you are close to graduation and considering public or private. Don't let busy season be a turnoff, because you get through it, and honestly, like, by mid-February, you're, like, it's just being at work for 60 hours is just what you do. It's just normal. You get used to it, and then outside of busy season, you have a whole lot of flexibility. And like I said, we have Fridays half day during the summer, so that was super nice. And that was to compensate for all the time we were working during busy season. So firms do recognize that you're working a lot, and they try to, reward you and make you feel appreciated for that time. So don't let that be, and don't let the CPA exam be a big turnoff from public or private, because it's valued in private accounting as well. It's just an exam, and you will pass it.
It may take you a while, but you will.
And this is our contact information. And then Mandy Cox, she's actually like ahead of our recruiting at Harding. So we went ahead and put her contact information up there in case anyone's interested. Mallory and I brought our business cards as well, and feel free to reach out to us if you want a job shadow, or if you have any questions, whatever. You can ask us anything, and we will do our best to help you. We're not too far out of college, so I kind of remember some things, and we definitely will do whatever we can to help you guys. So, does anyone have any questions for us?
I'll ask you one.
Yes.
I know you said you're not able to pick your industry, but since you're both tax associates, were you able to pick tax versus auditing versus consulting, or how did that come about?
Yes. So Mallory and I were able to pick, and Harding is hiring straight into departments. So you are able to decide if you want to apply for the audit positions or the tax positions, or if there's openings in advisory or outsourcing. So you kind of have the freedom to pick which department you want to apply for and essentially join.
And they have made it known recently that if you were to start in a department and then you decided that you want to try, like if you started an audit and you got, I don't even know, maybe you just got a few months in and you're like, okay, this might not be what I thought, and you wanted to do a small try of tax, they have made it known that should be able to happen.
Yeah, they are really insistent on if you are not happy or even if you're just curious and you want to try, something else, you have the freedom to do so. Mallory and I, in the summer, we work on employee benefits for the audit department, and then in March and April, some of the auditors that have slowed down, they come and help us do 1040. So you definitely can still get, like if you go audit or tax, you can still, work on audit work or work on tax work if that's something that you're interested in. They're really big on making sure that people feel like they can.
They want to make sure you're happy and that you reach your career goals.
Yes.
So,
Any other questions? Yes.
How's the new tax law affected your neighbor's office?
We love it.
What a great question. So to be completely honest, there's a lot of it that we are still trying to figure out ourselves. Harding did a really great job though in the fall and late summer preparing us for the different changes. But since the final regs just came out, we're still trying to kind of wrap our brains around it and help clients wrap their brains around what's happening and why it's happening, because let's be honest, who really likes change? No one. So
Have you seen like more benefits or?
honestly, so I really haven't had a whole lot. A lot of my like bigger returns I haven't started working on yet, and I feel like, and so I haven't really been able to see a whole lot of the impact, because some of the smaller clients really, I mean, there's not a whole lot there in the first place. So I haven't really been able to see a whole lot yet, but I have a feeling that's going to change.
I would think also once we get into 1040s, we would see quite a bit of change, because a lot of the change that we're dealing with is going to be passed through, or it's just individual, like the tax bracket change, and then like the different deductions that entities can take that pass through. So I think individual levels we'll be able to see it a lot more, which we start working on those
After March 15th.
about a month and a half, yeah.
So, anything else? We love questions. So please ask.
Do you have any interviewing tips and trips or tricks for everybody?
Don't trip at your interview.
Okay, so I'm going to share this really embarrassing story, so I hope you all appreciate this. So I was working at Berry and thought I kind of wanted to switch it up and see if I could, try and find something different. So I applied for a job at SS&C, and I knew nothing about the company, nothing about what they did. I didn't even really know what I was applying for. And so I had a phone interview, and they asked me questions, like what I knew about the company, and I was like, I was so embarrassed because I didn't know anything. So do the research about the company before you apply or before you interview. Super, super important, very important. And then I would say just be yourself. Don't just tell an interviewer what they want to hear because you think it's what they want to hear. Most of the time, I would say, especially now more so than later, they're trying to figure out more your personality than anything to see if you would be a good fit in the culture of the firm or the company that you're going to work for. So just be yourself and know about the company so they don't ask you questions and you don't know the answers. I'm sure your professors tell you that as well. So make sure you listen.
Good advice.
Do you have any, Mallory?
No, I was gonna say, like, a lot of the times they're looking for personality. So, I mean, I hate to say this to, like, people in college, but a lot of what you're gonna learn, you didn't learn in class. So it's knowing your personality and how you're gonna fit, because they are gonna teach you almost everything in the job.
But don't get her wrong, like, this is so important.
Yes, this is important.
Like, your classes are very important. The theory is there.
Yes.
When she says teaching, she means software and, like, stuff like that, and, like, the firm's process for, you know, completing an audit or completing a tax return. But the theory, like, you definitely need to learn that now. So.
And you need to know it for the exam, if you take it.
I'm telling the U of D professors what you said.
Hey, I did tell one of them that I definitely passed the audit exam because of her. So.
Any other questions?
I have one.
Yes.
So I had the joy of having Rachel in my University 101 class in the fall. And so I have this question that I need to ask her so that she can share this experience with you.
Yes.
So what is your favorite snack food at Harding and
Oh,
Szymanski?
I can't believe I forgot to talk about this. Okay, so we hit a lot of, like, the negative things in busy season, but we didn't talk about any of the positives. I did mention the tax season party, but we won't go into detail about that. So what happened, so our president sends out these emails that I told you guys about. So she also will randomly surprise us with food. And so we have Dairy Queen Blizzards, and my personal favorite. Well, first of all, how many of you guys have seen or watched The Office? Okay, so you're going to definitely know what I'm talking about. So she sent out an email, and it just was,
It has
oh
no
my gosh,
words.
what's his name? Dwight? Is that?
No.
No.
Stanley.
Yes. I don't watch The Office, so. And it said, it was a reference to the Pretzel Day episode of The Office. And so they bring in Auntie Anne's pretzels, and they are so good. You literally walk in, it's probably like a table this big, and there's 2 of them, and it's just filled with pretzels. And the sauces, so like the icing that you can get with like the sweet ones and the cheese sauce. Oh my gosh, it like literally, we have this software on our computer where you can search old emails that you've deleted. So last busy season, I searched my email from when I was an intern to figure out when Pretzel Day was so that I could know that it was coming. And it was like April 10th, so I have a feeling it's probably going to be about the end of April or beginning of April this year. So I mean, it's kind of far away, but I'm like really anticipating it. So it's my favorite day of the whole year.
We also get chair massages.
Yes, we do. We get 10-minute chair massages like once or twice a week.
I'd say twice.
They haven't started yet, unfortunately, but they will start soon.
Same with late night dinners.
We get late night dinners. Like they bring in Qdoba, Azip, Zoop. I can't think of any other ones off the top of my head, and they feed us. It starts off 2 nights a week, but then goes into 3. So that's just one less thing you got to worry about. Dinner, something very important, food. You don't have to worry about that during busy season, which is nice. What other perks do we have?
Donuts on Saturday.
Donuts on Saturday. I'm glad that you know this, and I can't even. Yeah, we do have donuts on Saturday. It's younger staff when you start. It's usually 2 years that you have to do donut duty, so that's what we call it. You have to be there at 6 a.m. and you have like 12 boxes of Donut Bank donuts. And last year, I somehow got roped into making a breakfast casserole, and it spilled all in my car, and it was a complete disaster. But it was still eatable, and I got some compliments on it, so I guess it all worked out okay.
Scoop it back in.
Well, I don't know what happened, but it was
like the eggs weren't done or something.
No, they were done.
Well, they were done. I don't know.
I don't know what happened.
Some of it just like slipped out.
It was like 5:30 in the morning during busy season, like mid-March, so I was like tired and then extra tired because it was 5:30 in the morning, so.
It used to be worse. We recently hired someone that actually does multiple things around the office to like kind of keep it running. So she goes and gets like the milk and the juice and the fruit
the
and the
yogurt.
granola bars. Like we used to have to buy all of that, so then it was kind of like a, hey, new staff has to do that.
But just to
It
be
was-
clear, like the firm reimburses you, like that money doesn't come out of your pocket. So don't let that turn you off from public accounting either. Any other questions?
How long does it take to reach partner or VP level, Harding in specific or public in general?
So Harding specific, this is kind of, there's a couple things that go into this. So obviously, I think on average it's like 12 to 15 years for vice president, but that also depends on like the demand.
Yeah.
So our VPs are kind of getting closer to retirement age, so I have a feeling within the next couple of years there'll probably be a decent amount of promotions. Same with like once our managers get promoted to vice presidents, then our like supervisor and senior staff will start getting promoted to manager. But you do get promoted fairly quickly. I think next year, how Harding does it, it's by year. So next year, Mallory and I will be promoted to senior, and then 2 or 3 years after that, it's supervisor, and then 2 to 3 to 4 after that, it's manager, and then senior manager, vice president.
Yeah, like she said, I know that it depends on the need, because I know we had one manager that I believe he was manager for I
Like
don't
2
know.
years, I think.
No, I'm talking the opposite. Like maybe like 6.
Who are you talking about?
But then Brant.
Brant was manager.
Then who was
Clearly, Mallory does not know what he's
okay,
talking about.
never mind. But I know sometimes like you might be at, or maybe he was supervisor for
He was
a really long time.
supervisor for a long time.
But then he was only manager for a couple of years, and then he got promoted to VP because, which I mean, also at that time, like if you were a supervisor for a super long time, there's a possibility that you might be doing some management responsibility if you're to that level, but they just don't have like that technical opening.
Well, building off that question out of curiosity, do you know of any cases where people from another accounting firm, they have, say, 15, 25 years experience, and they come in and automatically become partner?
Yeah, actually, one of the heads of our department, that is what she was hired in as the vice president. Yep.
I don't think it's as common at Harding, but it's been done before, yes.
I mean, we have people hire in as managers. We have people hire in as supervisors.
Mhm.
So, yeah, you're not like, you don't have to, if you have like, 10 years of experience, you're not expected to start at the very bottom. Okay, give us a couple more questions. No one over here has asked a question, so we're limiting it to someone over here. Yes.
So like when you're looking for a manager, what would be like your perfect manager that you're
Like personality-wise or like technically? Okay, personality-wise, obviously someone who has great communication skills, because you're not only communicating with staff now, you're communicating with clients and potential clients. So communication is key. Obviously, you have to be able to manage those below you. Typically how it works at Harding tax-wise, staff will get assigned to returns that have managers, and you kind of repeat those. So like would do USI's tax return this year, and then do it next year, and then eventually take over that. So like take over being the manager on it. So the managers are in a sense kind of prepping staff to take over their role. So you have to be able to give good direction, explain things very clearly, and technically, obviously, you have to have a good knowledge of what you're doing. Manager level is when people start getting more industry specific, so knowledge on your industry. Can you think of anything else?
Like I said, for management is whenever you're reviewing the returns, so you do have to have the technical knowledge, because you're looking and making sure that all of the credits or the deductions are actually entered correctly. And then you're also the one, most likely you'll be signing the return, so that's whenever you have to have the CPA license.
And if you're
So.
signing that return, you want everything to be right because that comes back on you essentially. Good question. Yes.
Kind of following up on that, you said the managers kind of prep their associates to take over their job. So as an associate, do you get to build a relationship with a lot of those clients, or are you kind of totally separated from them?
No, you do. I was actually am doing a return, so I did it last year, and then I'm doing it again this year. And the VP on it, so not the manager, but the VP was like, "Let's get you involved with the client." I got to sit in on some client calls and do some year-end planning for them. So they really do want to help you build those relationships with the clients that you're working on. A lot of our supervisor staff, they are the ones who directly communicate with the client sometimes. So it's not just limited to being a manager to like have the open relationship with the client.
We have a lot of managers and VPs that are really good about wanting to get staff involved. There's one that I work on. I worked on it last year. They were a new client, and I'll work on it again this year. And he actually told me that I think it's a 3-hour drive, and whenever you're in tax, you don't ever have to go out to a client. You could always get information just off of your email or through the servers that we use. And he actually wants me to go up there because he wants me to have that relationship with them. So.
And we also have a program at Harding. I don't know if this is at other firms or if other firms have a similar program, but it's called our Take One program. So that is when like a manager or a vice president would grab like a staff and take them to lunch if they were going to like a client lunch. I was fortunate to do that once, and then was able to sit in with our president while she went over a business return with the owners that I prepped. So I was able to sit in on that meeting, and she went through the tax return, and like I got to contribute to it because I was the one that prepped it. So that program's really cool and gets you a lot of exposure to meeting different people and starting to build your client relationships.
Does Harding provide study materials for the CPA exam?
They do.
Yes.
Yes, they pay for Becker, and then they will pay for your first round of exams. So if you pass the exams all 4 in one try, then you don't have to pay for anything, which is super nice.
What about education, trying to get up to that 150?
Unfortunately, I don't know of any cases to where they have paid for that because they do pay for the CPA.
It's
But
very
they're
expensive.
not paying for like me to get my master's. So
Yeah, it is very nice that they pay for that though, because I think Harding's actually an alliance firm with RSM, so they get it at a discount. But if you were to go out and buy Becker by yourself, just going online, I think it's a $4,500 maybe.
it's pretty expensive.
And then each exam is about $300. So I didn't pass 2 of mine the first time, so I had to pay out of pocket basically $600 to take those 2.
I mean,
again.
and if you think about that, like USI's MBA program, I think it's like roughly like $1,300. Or, I mean, 13,000, I'm so sorry. So if you think about it, that's like half of that, essentially. So, I mean, they try and help the best that they can.
Most CPA firms, as far as I know, will not pay for your extra hours, for the extra 30 hours.
Yeah,
don't
I
know
think
of
it's
any
kind of
that do.
just like an expected thing that, like, you go into public knowing that you have to have the 150 hours.
Yeah, and I would, if you are planning on doing that, and depending on where you decide to apply, that's a good thing to ask too, because I know some firms, whenever I was going through, like some like big 4 firms would come down, and they said that they wouldn't even look at your resume unless you had 150 before you started. And some firms want you to have already passed the exam before you start, or be in the process, which Harding is, I say, very lenient on that, as long as you plan to pursue the exam. And like I said, you can't be promoted above supervisor, but they're very lenient on when you can get that done.
Speaking of Big Four, does anyone have like any questions? Like, because we obviously work at regional firms. I obviously never worked at a Big Four, but I had a lot of friends that did. So is anyone like wondering, should I try Big Four? Should I stay regional? does anyone have any questions about that? We can kind of give you like the regional side of things, but yeah,
'Cause you just have the 2 offices here in Louisville, right?
yes.
How long would they expect you to stay in your current position before you decided that it'd be better for you if you went to Louisville and transfer?
So actually, we had a girl in our audit department who was thinking about possibly moving to Louisville. So what they did for her, and I don't know what level she was at this. I don't think that really matters. But if you're curious on whether Louisville would be a good fit for you, they put her up in a hotel for a week and let her work out of the Louisville office. So I mean, if they would rather you like voice that opinion that maybe like bigger city might be something, and they would rather let you experience that to see if that's what you want, then you say, well, then not be flexible about it and potentially lose an employee. So they're pretty flexible. And I don't know how much we vocalize this, but like Mallory said, we are an RSM alliance. So RSM is like the 5th biggest firm in the nation, I believe. And so like we have contacts essentially all over the country. So if someone does start at Harding and is there for a couple of years and thinks, well, I kind of want to move to a bigger city, Harding would be a resource to potentially move you to possibly an RSM firm. So there's definitely potential there. Any other questions?
By the way, Becker is $3,500.
35, okay. I thought it was more than that, but still expensive, so
It's
it's
still,
nice to
yeah.
have it paid for.
That's still, a good chunk of money, especially right out of college. Thank you, guys.
Alrighty. Thank you guys so much for coming. Really
Absolutely.
appreciate it. Did you guys get some McAllisters?
We did not.
Okay, well you should because it's McAllisters. That's great. Okie doke. Thanks for coming, guys. As I said before, BAP contracts are due February 14th.
Do you have those?
I have contracts if anyone needs a contract.
And here's some IMA or APS contracts. If you need them, they'll be up here.
Yep. And what's the due date on the APS?
Same day.
Same day? Okay, cool.
Sorry.
And then also, we recently had an opening in the VP of Community Service spot. So if any of you guys are interested in running for that position, just come and talk to Braden right after the meeting. We'll take your name.
Here's
And the next professional meeting, we'll do like a small election, essentially. And it's just like, you'll come up here and you'll give like a 30-second pitch as to, who you are, why you think you'd be good for the position. But if we only have like one person interested, then they'll just automatically get it. So if you're interested in that, let me know. And then officers, hang out here after this meeting. And I think, as I said before, if anyone's interested in going on that Cincinnati trip, also stay here as well. All right.
Oh my god.
Meeting adjourned.
Contract, please give it to me.
Yes. Yeah. If you have your contract and dues, give